Oh man, I want to chat to you a little bit about this little kind of video you put out for a reply to the Jahazel
Oh,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
Tell us about that, man.
Yeah, man. What do you want to know about it?
Yeah, what was you thinking like when you put that together?
Okay, so, I don't know, a few things, really. Like, I think first things first, like, I love Jarzell. You know, he's been my boy for time. I've known him for years. We've done shows together. He featured on my last album, The Cement Mix. He's a good guy. Do you know what I mean? I've got a lot of love for him in that respect. Sadly, he obviously turned away from Jesus, which he has free will to do. I've got nothing wrong with that. I think we all have free will to either accept or reject God and his ways, and he chose to reject God. It does throw the question up for me as to how he could have been a Christian before, or would have called himself a Christian before, if that sort of stuff was really happening. But I think I don't know who he's got around him. I don't know who he leans on for counsel. I don't know who's discipling him, mentoring him, who's pastoring him, that sort of thing. So yeah, for whatever reason, he reached a place in his own heart, struggles of life perhaps, where he perhaps sort of felt annoyed with Jesus as a result of almost like an act of rebellion, trying to deny Jesus as a result. I took him out for Nando's. I phoned him up. I said, "Just, we've got to do lunch, mate." So we met up in Sutton, in South London. We went to Nando's. I bought him lunch, and I was just like, "Mate, what's going on, man?" He's just like, "Oh yeah, I disagree because of this, that and the other." I said, "Well, mate, I'm not being funny, but the arguments you're making aren't actually valid." Like, he was sort of saying about it being a white man's religion and questioning evidence for the Bible, and I'm just like, "Well, mate, there's mountains of evidence for this. You can't do that." Then he started calling God's character into question with the whole baby killing thing, etc., etc. Yeah, it was all lies. You know, none of it's factually founded like the Bible is. I sort of sat down. I tried to explain and reason with him to a certain degree. We spoke about the track which he did towards Esso as well, and the points which he made, and I critiqued each and every point. And I told him, I said, "Joe, I've got to do a track to refute this." And he's like, "Well, yeah, man, you do what you feel you need to." So I did. I wrote Bar Bar Black Sheep. I put it out, and I've called him out for a live debate and a live battle rap on the 10th of June at Leicester Square.
Whoa, I didn't know that. So what? You've called him out for a live battle rap. So what was his? I didn't know that. So what was his response to that?
Well, if you listen to the last verse of Bar Bar Black Sheep, you'll hear me calling him out on it. He hasn't responded. Whether he turns off or not, I don't know. That's up to him. I'm going to be there still. So yeah, we'll sort of see what happens, I guess.
So what's going on in Leicester Square? Like, how come you're in Leicester Square?
I'm going to be up there performing a few tracks anyway, probably telling some people about Jesus. He's welcome to come along, and we can have a debate then and a battle rap on the street. Do a real hip-hop style.
So what's the event you're part of that's in Leicester Square?
So the event up there on the day, I think, is called Spirit in the City. That's the main event up there.
Who's hosting it?
I have no idea.
Oh, how'd you get involved with it? I never even heard about that.
I just got booked for it.
Nice, man. I got to look into that, man. What's it called? Spirit in the City?
Spirit in the City. It's at Leicester Square on June the 10th. That's all I know. But, yeah, man, I think, Giles is cool, though. Do you know what I mean? I love the guy. I'm pretty gutted for him. If he wants to use his own God-given free will to walk away from God, then that's on him. But my concern is if he tries to bring a falsified justification to it with falsified reasoning and thus lead others astray. That's where I'm not going to let him get away with that. And thus I sort of felt I needed to write that track. I think for anyone who ministers within music, they need to feel the weight of the word on their hearts. You know, Jesus himself said, actually, woe to you who might teach my people wrong. You're better off tying a millstone around your neck and jumping in the water. It's not something which I take lightly. It's probably the hardest track I've written from my heart perspective. You know, he's my boy. I love him. I really do. And it's gutting to sort of see him like where he's at. Really, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't when I actually heard about it the first time round, I thought it was a case of, well, he's at the time. The way I understood it was that he's saying he's stepping back from the religious aspect, and he was getting away from the religious part of Christianity, but he still had a relationship with Jesus. And funny enough, I had a conversation with him over the phone a couple of weeks ago, like privately, and I said to him, like, what's going on, man? Just tell me your thoughts on it. And he said originally it was like that when it first started out. Like, he'd gone to Africa with, like, on tour or something, he'd seen some stuff, he wasn't happy with it, and he came back, and it was a case of, well, yeah, basically he still wanted Jesus, he just didn't have that, he wanted to get away from everything which was known, like, as Christianity as a religion, because he had a lot of things to say against it, and negatives, and understandably so, because I've written a post on Facebook where I've agreed with the video that he did with the Vine Juice ladies, and I actually said, I agree, and I do agree with 80% of what he said about the church, because a lot of the stuff is true, but it's not directly, at that point, it wasn't directly saying, you know, so many harsh things. It was more the saying the truths that are wrong with the church, you know, like people were emasculating Jesus, people were saying Jesus at one point very loving, and next point, you know, is a lot of politics within Christianity and stuff. The kind of impression I got from it was that he's just very, very hurt, you know. At the end of the day, he said a few more things over the phone, which he hadn't said in the video, and I said, look, I don't agree with everything you're saying, but either way, you're still my brother in Christ, and I pray for you to come back, that's it. And
Amen.
That's it. I mean, I just said to him, look, man, I'm not judging you, man, you do what you want to do, but the thing I was trying to get across was, look, and this is what I'd say to anyone listening, he was your brother in Christ. You want to get him on the stage and battle rap with him, that's fine, because you want to get his point across that what he's saying is invalid. But I think the important thing is to remember that he's still our brother in Christ, you know. If he really was with God before, and even if he wasn't, God's still going to bring him back, you know. We mustn't forget, like, God's got him, and pray for him, you know, because I felt a lot of kind of other artists are being kind of battling against him and just throwing him off, you know. Oh, he's lost now, forget about him. But I think that's a wrong attitude, isn't it, really?
It is the wrong attitude. Like, you can't just cast, like, it's not on us or me, certainly not on me as a fellow artist, to decide what branch gets cut off, so to say. But I love him as a brother, but I love him too much to sort of let him if he genuinely believes what he's saying in his songs, you know. It's not a private thing either. He didn't speak to me privately. He went public. He took it into the public arena, cutting down Esso, calling Jesus, the man on the cross, a scarecrow, and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? Talking about talking snakes and like taking everything so out of context. It's painful. It's heartbreaking. You know, like I said, he wants to walk away from Jesus. That's on him. But if he wants to sow deceit and contradict the work of, be it the battered bride, you know, the church, which does make mistakes. You know, we're all sinners. You know, Romans 3:26 blames that. But if he's going to be leading other people astray, then I think I have a brotherly responsibility to call him on it as well and just say, actually, Jazz, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. You're wrong factually. You're out of context with this. This is the truth of it. You know, he needs to know the truth because it's the truth that will set him free. It's not an aggressive style for battling in that respect. It's more about sort of saying, actually, I love you too much to sort of let you continue down this line.
Yeah, man, I feel what you're saying. I understand that completely, and I think that's what it should be. We're just praying for him to come back into the light, kind of thing. And you know, I think God's got him, man. So let's crack into your next record, man. We've got the Comeback King. Do you want to go ahead and introduce that one?
Yeah, man. So the Comeback King is on my album, The Cement Mix. Yeah, just talking about the Comeback King, Jesus, the sort of situations. So I suppose just trying to visualise the situation in those moments, really, what that was like, what the vibe was there. Again, there were 500 eyewitnesses to the resurrected Jesus. That's pretty big. 500 eyewitnesses walked into the local courthouse and said, this guy we saw publicly murdered, publicly risen. That'd be very good evidence by today's standards. And I suppose part of me just sort of wanted to picturise it for the listener as to what that might have been like if you were one of the people there at that time, I guess.